In the entertainment world, raw talent can lift you to the top, but personal choices can bring everything crashing down just as fast. And for many Black artists, the spotlight often feels even harsher, where one mistake can erase years of sacrifice, struggle, and relentless hustle. There was once a legendary group that ruled the Billboard charts for years, until one shocking betrayal shattered everything overnight. The lead member was exposed for having an affair with another member's wife. Brotherhood turned to bitterness, the music stopped, and the group dissolved into silence. Then there was a singer once praised as the voice of God, whose legacy was clouded by the revelation of more than a dozen children left without recognition. And if you think those stories were the most jaw-dropping, brace yourself, because the next 23 names might leave you completely speechless. Watch until the very end and tell us, who let you down the most when the truth came out? Or were you able to forgive despite it all? Ike Turner, the man behind the guitar, the name once hailed as a founding force of rock and roll and the driving hand behind Tina Turner's early rise. On stage, he looked like a visionary. Off stage, the story was far darker. Fame came fast, and with it grew an obsession with control and recognition. A hunger not just for music, but for power and validation. Tina once admitted in an interview, "I never knew who he'd go home with at night." Their breakthrough hit, A Fool in Love, in 1963 launched them into stardom, but behind the curtain, cracks were already forming. Rumors of affairs followed Ike everywhere. One night, Tina returned to their hotel earlier than expected and noticed a pair of unfamiliar high heels outside her bedroom door. Inside, she found betrayal waiting, not just another woman in her bed, but also someone she trusted to protect their private world from scandal. She said nothing. She quietly set down her suitcase, and later that night, sang like someone whose heart had shattered. The years that followed brought more chaos. Allegations of multiple affairs within his own backup group surfaced, one reportedly ending in pregnancy. When the scandals leaked, Ike denied everything, but the damage was done. The band fractured, whispers spread across the industry, and the empire he built began to crack. Tina eventually walked away, carrying deep scars but also the first breath of freedom. Ike's later life spiraled through arrests, violence, and addiction. By the end, the man who once commanded stages around the world faced a lonely farewell, surrounded by only a handful of old friends and a child whose story remained uncertain. His legacy became a complicated echo, a brilliant musician whose personal choices left lasting wounds. Some artists are born to change music, but lose themselves along the way. Ike Turner's story is a reminder that talent alone isn't enough to define a life. Sometimes the greatest achievement isn't the applause under the spotlight, it's protecting the hearts of the people who stand beside us when the music fades. James Brown, a legend wrapped in shadows. The godfather of soul. His raw screams once carried the heartbeat of Black America. On stage, he was fire in a tailored suit, every step sharp, every smile electric. But behind the spotlight lived a man who struggled to accept rejection, especially when it came to love. While crowds worshipped him, his personal life unraveled into broken marriages, accusations of infidelity, and children who carried his last name but not always his acknowledgement. One tense night in August 1988, his third wife, Adrienne, forced her way into his private recording studio in Georgia after weeks of suspicion, late nights, secret calls, and distance she could no longer ignore. When she pushed open the heavy soundproof door, she found James sitting calmly beside a young dancer he had once introduced as, like a niece. Her scream shattered the silence, but James simply removed his headphones, expression unreadable. The press never fully exposed the incident, yet from that moment on, their marriage was beyond repair. The scandals didn't end there. Accusations of affairs continued to follow him, along with lawsuits from women who claimed he refused to support children believed to be his. At one dramatic press conference, a young woman stood trembling before cameras, holding a handwritten letter she said was signed by James Brown himself. Proof, she claimed, that she was his daughter. He refused DNA testing, and eventually the headlines faded. But for the people involved, the wounds never truly closed. In his later years, the King of Soul lived mostly alone in a sprawling mansion, surrounded by echoes instead of applause. Family ties weakened, and many relatives drifted away. After his death, bitter disputes over his estate erupted among unrecognized children and complicated marriages. Even his funeral became a quiet battlefield. People remembered the man who once sang, "It's a man's world." Yet many whispered that he never truly stood beside the women in his own life. James Brown's story is more than fame and music. It's a reminder that talent alone cannot hold people's hearts forever. Songs may live on for generations, but betrayal leaves scars that never fade. Live in a way that people remember your rhythm and your legacy, not the silence left behind by love you abandoned in the dark. Billy Paul, R&B's most haunting keeper of forbidden love stories. Once crowned the most dangerous romantic voice in soul, he sang with a honey-smooth depth that felt warm until you really listened to the words. Beneath every melody lurked an unsettling truth. His biggest hit, Me and Mrs. Jones, wasn't just a song. It was widely believed to be a real-life confession about an affair with a married woman. And what shocked people most was that he never tried to hide behind fiction. He performed it with raw passion and unapologetic pride, as if holding up a glittering trophy no one dared question. Offstage, Billy wasn't the gentle symbol of love many imagined. He moved like a quiet shadow through complicated romances and whispered scandals. In 1973, an anonymous Philadelphia Tribune journalist recalled spotting him in a dim South Street bar, leaning close to a woman wrapped in a mink coat. She wasn't his wife, and even members of his band didn't recognize her. Just 3 days later, a blurry paparazzi photo began circulating quietly among reporters. An unofficial investigation followed. The mystery woman, it turned out, was the wife of a powerful music producer, an affair that rippled through the highest circles of the industry. Months later, Billy stepped onto a charity concert stage, but fans noticed something had changed. His eyes avoided the crowd, and he sang Me and Mrs. Jones in a lower, heavier key, almost like a public confession disguised as music. The press showed no mercy. One major newspaper declared, "The king of adultery sings about himself, but 3 families pay the price." After the scandal, his momentum faded. Radio stations hesitated to play the song, accusing it of glamorizing betrayal rather than telling a love story. Near the end of his life, Billy admitted in a quiet interview that his music had wounded more than it healed. "I thought I was just telling romantic stories," he said, "but behind those stories were real tears, divorces, broken homes, abandoned children." We celebrate storytellers for their honesty, but when art is built on someone else's heartbreak, the line between truth and cruelty becomes painfully thin. Music should mend what's broken, not leave deeper scars. Don't let your own life become a love song people can't bear to listen to twice. Jackie Wilson, the dangerous lover behind The Perfect Smile. They called him Mr. Excitement, a force of nature who electrified every stage he stepped on. With explosive choreography, a dazzling grin, and a voice that could shake the rafters, Jackie didn't just perform, he possessed the crowd. But the brighter he burned in public, the darker his private world became. Behind the charisma was a man who never knew when to stop chasing temptation. Rumors swirled that he fathered children with at least 4 women outside his marriage, but the scandal that truly shattered his image came in 1961. Jet magazine dropped a bombshell exposing his affair with the drummer's wife. The story described a wild Chicago party where Jackie and the woman vanished for nearly an hour, only to return with her jacket on backward and Jackie stumbling, drunk and smiling like nothing had happened. The fallout exploded not because of reporters, but because of the drummer himself. He quit the band and held a fiery press conference, accusing Jackie of leading his wife into a hotel room and never once apologizing. Jackie's response was chillingly casual, "I love music, and people love me, sometimes too much." That line followed him like a shadow of shame. Afterward, the spotlight faded fast. Concerts were canceled. Radio stations quietly pulled his songs from rotation. Even his own family drifted away. One stepchild later wrote, "He was my father, but I only saw him on TV." In his final years, tragedy closed in. After collapsing from a heart attack on stage, Jackie spent the rest of his life in a coma. With no relatives by his side, only a handful of loyal fans who still remembered the magic. Maybe the cruelest betrayal wasn't the affairs themselves, but the way love became a mirror for his ego. Mistakes can be forgiven, but the wounds they leave behind can last for decades. Talent may blind the world for a while, yet when the lights go dark, only truth remains. And sometimes truth shows no mercy. Joe Tex, the smooth-talking soul man with love on his lips and secrets in his shadow. Hailed as the true voice of Southern soul, he was among the first to fuse gospel fire, deep soul, and raw funk into a sound that felt like both a sermon and a confession. On stage, he preached devotion through hits like Hold What You've Got and I Want to Do Everything For You, leaving crowds swaying and women in tears. But off stage, the man behind the microphone lived a far messier truth, a restless charmer whose reputation as a playboy shattered hearts, including his own wife's. By the mid-1970s, those closest to him noticed strange habits on tour. Joe demanded 2 suitcases everywhere he went, one for performance outfits, the other filled with cologne, crisp white shirts, and bottles of brandy. When his wife once asked why he needed expensive perfume when the audience sat miles from the stage, he flashed a knowing smile and said, "The ones close enough will catch the scent." One night in Houston, she arrived at his hotel unannounced. Walking into the room during soundcheck hours, she expected to find microphones and sheet music, but instead saw a delicate necklace resting on the bed. Moments later, a young woman emerged from the bathroom wearing Joe's shirt, lipstick still fresh, casually assuming she was part of the management team. There were no screams, no tears. His wife simply placed her return train ticket and a quiet handwritten note on the table. "You sing for the world. I've learned to live in silence." The fallout was swift. Industry insiders whispered that Joe drank for days, not out of guilt, but from losing the one woman who had loved him beyond the fame. After that scandal, his love songs no longer carried the same magic. Older fans drifted away, and the once electric preacher of romance retreated into isolation. In his final years, he lived quietly on a Texas ranch, rarely stepping into the spotlight. Joe Tex died at just 49 from a heart attack, leaving behind no final message, only his guitar and unfinished pages of songs that would never be sung. His life stands as a haunting reminder: a voice may win hearts, but only your actions keep them. Don't let the greatest gifts you have be buried beneath the choices you refuse to change. ZZ Hill. ZZ Hill, the broken heart behind the saddest songs. His name was never the loudest in the headlines, but to true soul lovers he was the sound of raw honesty. A man who loved deeply, hurt deeply, and carried every scar into his music. Songs like "Love Is So Good When You're Stealing It" and "Cheating in the Next Room" didn't just feel real, they were real. They weren't just lyrics, they were pieces of a life he had actually lived. In 1970, ZZ married a gentle woman who stayed far from the spotlight. But fame pulled him into endless cities and tempting connections. What began as a close working relationship with a female singer on the same label slowly slipped into a secret romance. They would leave recording sessions early, claiming exhaustion, checking into neighboring hotel rooms, close enough to blur the line between truth and betrayal. And like every hidden story, it eventually found the light. One night at a single-release show in Dallas, his wife appeared quietly in the back row. She said nothing. He never saw her during the performance, but backstage she waited. In her hands were a letter, a few photographs, and a hotel bill from the very night he claimed he was busy recording. She left without confrontation, without tears. And in that silence, he understood there was nothing left to explain. A record label employee later said ZZ didn't speak to anyone for 3 days after that night. He refused to perform, canceled his tour, and locked himself inside his studio. Soon after, he wrote, "Someone else is stepping in." It sounded like a confession, though he never admitted it publicly. His marriage never healed. His wife filed for divorce. ZZ lived the rest of his life alone, until a sudden car accident took him away. When police searched his wallet, they found a faded photograph, her face, worn with time, the woman who once loved him completely. ZZ Hill once sang that love feels sweetest when you're stealing it. But in the end, what gets stolen isn't just a heart, it's your chance to love honestly ever again. And sometimes, when the one person who believed in you walks away, no song you sing will ever feel whole again. Syl Johnson, the quiet charmer behind the guitar, the man many called the whisperer of dark love. Known for soul-piercing classics like Is It Because I'm Black and Take Me to the River, he was once praised as a spiritual voice of the black community. But behind the velvet sound and confessional lyrics lived a man surrounded by rumors, temptation, and a deeply complicated personal life. Syl wasn't loud or flashy, yet he carried a magnetic pull, a soft gaze, a gentle smile, and a voice that felt like a secret told in the dark. Some insiders even nicknamed him the two-faced priest of soul, a compliment and a warning wrapped into one. After shows, he often held intimate fan meetups that blurred the line between admiration and intimacy. One backstage attendant recalled, "He never turned in early, there was always a woman waiting at his door." In 1982, a Chicago newspaper ran a controversial exposé in which 3 anonymous women claimed he used fame to lure them into affairs. "He promised to marry me," one said, "but I later found out he already had a wife." The story ignited public outrage. Soon after, his wife, long burdened by suspicion, left with their 2 children. A neighbor remembered seeing her quietly tear up the newspaper on the porch before walking away. No screaming, no tears, only the heavy silence of someone who had endured too much for too long. Fans were divided. Some defended Syl as a victim of obsession and celebrity culture. Others listened to his later songs, like I Want to Take You Home to See Mama, and heard echoes of apologies that never quite reached the people who needed them most. As years passed, he grew more withdrawn, performing less, spending more time battling artists who sampled his music, as if trying to reclaim control over a life that had slipped through his hands. Talent can be a blessing and a curse. It can make the world love you while quietly pulling you away from what matters most. Syl Johnson could write songs that made strangers cry, yet leave the woman closest to him in silence. Because when you hold someone's heart, it should never be used as a prop for fame. There is no higher note than kindness, and no concert hall louder than the echo of regret in a heart that has lost its family. Tyrone Davis. Tyrone Davis, the man they called the king of love songs, and, to some, the king of denial. A voice soaked in nostalgia, he once ruled the charts with classics like Can I Change My Mind, Turn Back the Hands of Time, and In the Mood. His sound was velvet smooth, his lyrics full of longing, the kind that felt like a late-night confession to a lover who never came back. But behind the spotlight lived a far more complicated story. In this dramatic retelling, the same man who could make hearts melt also left whispers of heartbreak off stage. Stories spread of women arriving at his label with children who looked strikingly like him, letters demanding answers, and rumors growing louder with every passing year. Then came the night in Detroit, 1986, a performance that would be talked about for decades. As he sang to a roaring crowd, a woman suddenly walked onto the stage carrying a 2-year-old child. She placed the baby at his feet and shouted words that froze the room. Music stopped. Security rushed in. Cameras flashed. And there he stood, the voice of love, staring at the child as if time itself had paused. The next morning, that image was everywhere. Lawsuits followed, headlines grew sharper, and the media branded him with a title that clung to his name. Interviews vanished, crowds thinned, and his personal life unraveled. He withdrew from the world, recording alone, speaking less and less as the years passed. In a rare 2003 interview, he looked straight into the lens and quietly admitted, "I once believed that if I sang beautifully enough, people would forget my mistakes. But real people don't forget, especially children." His story became a haunting reminder. Love is more than lyrics and applause. It is responsibility, presence, and truth when the music fades. Because touching millions with your voice means little if the ones closest to you feel unheard. In the end, a legacy isn't just built on songs. It's written in how deeply you showed up as a father, a man, and a heart capable of real love. Ray Charles. Ray Charles, a blind genius with a restless heart. They called him the soul of America, a timeless icon whose voice carried pain, hope, and raw humanity. Blind since childhood, he still conquered millions with unforgettable classics like Georgia on My Mind and Hit the Road Jack. His music felt honest, vulnerable, almost sacred. But offstage, the man behind the legend lived a life many described as chaotic and emotionally distant. He fathered 12 children with 9 different women, and while fans adored him, many people close to him quietly walked away, unable to keep up with a heart that seemed to belong everywhere and nowhere at once. In 1967, during a performance in St. Louis, his wife, Della Beatrice Howard, arrived unexpectedly after hearing rumors from a trusted friend in the music industry. She had been told Ray had spent time at a hotel with a young backup singer from the tour. Della refused to believe it, not until she stepped into his dressing room after the show. On the table sat a red lipstick that wasn't hers, a handkerchief stitched with a mysterious S, and the lingering sweetness of unfamiliar perfume clung to his stage clothes. A security guard later recalled that Ray said nothing when he sensed his wife standing there. That night, Della walked away. The next evening, Ray returned to the stage, singing with the same powerful voice the world loved. But during You Don't Know Me, witnesses said his voice cracked on the final line. The crowd erupted in applause, yet under the bright lights, he wiped his face with a white towel, and no one could tell whether it was sweat or tears. The aftermath was heavy. His wife moved out. His children began to distance themselves. Some stepchildren even filed lawsuits, claiming they were denied proper support. One later told a reporter, "I grew up in the dark, and my father was blind." In his final years, Ray Charles was often described as surrounded by strangers rather than family. His estate was divided with strict precision in his will, but love can't be measured in legal documents. He was undeniably a musical genius, yet few were willing to call him a great father. A genius can overcome hardship. Fame can conquer the world. But love demands responsibility, not just talent. Live in a way that even in darkness, you never lose the hearts of those who once gave you all their light. Major Lance. Major Lance, the man who danced behind love. A blazing star of Chicago soul, he lit up the dance floors of the 60s with The Monkey Time, and a string of irresistible hits. Fans called him the Heart Dancer, not just for his voice, but for the charm, style, and magnetic presence that made crowds fall for him instantly. But behind the spotlight lived a man tangled in secrets, shadowed relationships, and a loneliness few ever saw. Though married, Major rarely spoke about his family in public. Insiders claimed he carefully protected a free image to keep female fans dreaming. That silence eventually cracked. In 1973, during a show in Milwaukee, an elderly woman rose from the crowd and shouted, "You left me when I was 8 months pregnant, and now you sing about true love?" She held up a child's photo beneath the harsh stage lights. Witnesses said Lance froze for a moment, eyes downcast, then continued singing like nothing had happened. The aftermath was brutal. Local headlines exploded. Lawsuits followed, accusations of abandonment, demands for DNA tests, and painful stories from former lovers. One ex-girlfriend, a dancer from his tour, claimed, "I was the only one who truly loved him. Every love song he sang was just another performance." Slowly, the scandals chipped away at his career. His record label walked away. Promoters distanced themselves. Friends grew silent. In his final years, Major lived quietly in Atlanta, blind in one eye, battling serious respiratory illness, far removed from the roaring crowds that once adored him. In his last interview, when asked about his classic hits, he sighed and said, "I used to think I was dancing with people's hearts. But I just want someone to walk beside me to the end of the road." Love isn't a dance routine. You can't fake it to the rhythm forever. You might perform for the world, but never forget the person waiting in the dark when the curtain falls. Because one day the lights go out. And if no one stands beside you when the music ends, all that remains is the echo of empty applause. You've just stepped into the story of an artist who lived 2 lives, one on stage and one behind closed doors. And maybe, if you're still listening, it's because you're searching for something real, something even legends sometimes lose. But behind every spotlight is a deeper question. Where is the line between a loving man and a broken one? And if someone you admired appeared on this list, would you defend them or turn away? Al Wilson, the gentleman of soul, unmasked. Behind the velvet voice and candlelit ballads was a life far more complicated than the music suggested. With his timeless hit Show and Tell, Al Wilson captivated America, earning a reputation as the smooth storyteller of love and heartbreak. His voice felt sincere, polished, almost sacred to fans who believed every word he sang. But while audiences melted under the glow of his melodies, a very different story unfolded behind closed doors. During a 1975 tour, rumors began to swirl when Wilson was reportedly seen moving between 3 separate hotel rooms in a single evening. A Memphis hotel receptionist later claimed he frequently ordered wine sent to multiple rooms, each under a different woman's name. At first, his crew assumed he was simply helping friends. But as night fell, he was spotted visiting each room one by one, always wearing that same signature velvet jacket, never breaking his calm, charming persona. Soon the press caught on. An anonymous local reporter followed the tour and published a bombshell expose detailing Wilson's alleged affairs, complete with undercover photos. The article ignited controversy across the music world, especially after it featured an interview with a woman who claimed she was a former lover he had abandoned while she was pregnant. Within a week of the story's release, his wife, who had long harbored suspicions, filed for divorce. From there, his career slowly lost momentum. New releases struggled to gain traction. Critics said his voice remained technically beautiful, yet somehow the emotional magic had faded. In his later years, Wilson withdrew from the spotlight, living a quieter life away from the stages that once adored him. In his final television appearance, he left viewers with a haunting confession. "I used to sing about love, but I didn't know how to keep it. Love isn't a song, it's how you treat people when the lights go out. Don't let your talent become a mask for the pain you cause." Eddie Kendricks. A voice that could lift a room and quietly fracture the bonds around him. The slender, soaring falsetto behind the Temptations' most unforgettable harmonies, Kendricks stood as one of Motown's most iconic tenors. From the aching sweetness of Just My Imagination to the playful charm of The Way You Do the Things You Do, he gave the group a sound that felt almost weightless. But behind the spotlight, invisible cracks were forming, not just within friendships, but inside marriages and personal reputations. By 1970, at the height of the Temptations' fame, rumors began swirling that Eddie was entangled in secret relationships with both a devoted fan and a label assistant. One bandmate later admitted, "We didn't know who loved who anymore, we just knew trust was gone." Tensions finally erupted during a Florida tour when Eddie's wife appeared backstage and found him alone with his assistant behind a closed door. There were no shouting matches, only heavy silence and piercing looks. A crew member remembered her saying just one line, "I used to admire your singing. Now I pity it." The press sensationalized the story, and Motown quickly moved to bury the scandal. But within the group, the damage lingered. Not long after, Eddie walked away from the Temptations and pursued a solo career, yet the shadows followed him. In later interviews, he carefully dodged questions about love and marriage. Friends described him as quiet and reflective, someone who grew emotional whenever old songs played. On a vintage TV appearance, when asked about love, he sighed and said, "I thought I understood it, but maybe it was just my imagination." Because loyalty isn't something you can sing into existence, you have to live it. A voice can soar to impossible heights, but the human heart still has to learn humility, face its mistakes, and keep its promises. Marvin Gaye, a man who often seemed at war with his own heart. He became a symbol of charm, vulnerability, and quiet rebellion in music, shaking America with timeless hits like What's Going On, Let's Get It On, and Sexual Healing. Yet behind the velvet voice lived a man whose personal life left deep scars, especially for the woman who stood beside him. His marriage to Anna Gordy, sister of Motown's founder, once looked like a powerful union of love and legacy, until the cracks became impossible to hide. Marvin's affairs were frequent, sometimes painfully public, turning devotion into humiliation. The breaking point came in 1977 with the release of Here, My Dear, an album created to fulfill his divorce settlement and pay alimony to Anna. Instead of delivering a cold business project, Marvin poured raw anger, heartbreak, and resentment into every lyric. In "When did you stop loving me? When did I stop loving you?" he questioned, accused, and exposed the private wounds of their marriage. Audiences were stunned. This was no longer just music, but a deeply personal courtroom where Marvin stood alone, confessing and blaming at the same time. A close friend revealed that Anna wept when she first heard the album, not from nostalgia, but from the sting of betrayal laid bare before the world. Soon after, other women came forward, confirming relationships with Marvin during his marriage. His life spiraled into crisis. His career slowed, scandals followed, and he retreated to Belgium for a time, hoping to escape both taxes and turmoil. But loneliness, depression, and addiction clung to him relentlessly. In 1984, Marvin Gaye's life ended tragically when he was shot by his own father after a bitter argument, a shocking loss that left America grieving. His story forces a painful question. How could a man capable of writing songs that healed millions also wound the people closest to him? Love should never become a weapon of revenge. A heart that refuses to apologize can never truly be free. And sometimes, love gives you only one chance to get it right, because you never know when it might be the last time. Percy Sledge, the voice behind one of the greatest love songs ever written, lived a story far more complicated than the lyrics he sang. Known around the world as the man who gave us When a Man Loves a Woman, he was once seen as the very symbol of devotion and heartbreak. But behind the glow of stage lights was a painful irony. The singer who made millions believe in loyalty was eventually thrown out of his own home after being unfaithful. In 1978, during a long tour stop in New Orleans, Percy became involved with a backstage attendant. His wife, who had always trusted him without question, received an anonymous phone call from a female fan. Without warning anyone, she quietly traveled to the city. One evening, standing silently in a hotel lobby, she watched her husband step out of the elevator holding hands with a young woman, laughing like nothing in the world could touch him, unaware that someone who loved him was watching everything fall apart. She didn't scream. She didn't argue. She simply went home, packed his belongings, and changed the locks. When Percy returned, he stood alone outside the door that used to welcome him. A neighbor later said he sat there until morning. No knocking, no shouting, just softly singing a few lines from the very song that made him famous. After that moment, his image was never quite the same in the hearts of many longtime fans. He continued to perform, but for some listeners, the comfort in his voice had faded. Years later, in a quiet interview, when asked about his greatest regret, Percy answered with heartbreaking honesty, "I should have lived up to my song." Because love isn't just a melody or a performance, it's a choice you make every single day, especially when no one is watching. And if you ever sing about a broken heart, make sure the person listening isn't the one you were the reason it broke. David Ruffin, the scandal-laced soul of the Temptations. A powerhouse voice that helped define the group's golden era, especially with timeless classics like My Girl. But behind the brilliance was a man whose towering ego and turbulent personal life slowly fractured the brotherhood he helped build. Rumors followed him everywhere, including whispers that he juggled 3 lovers during a single tour. In 1970, during a show in Detroit, reality collided with reputation. His wife arrived unexpectedly backstage. Inside the dressing room, there was no sign of David, only a shirt stained with lipstick and an unsigned, handwritten note resting on the table. "Last night with you was the best night." One bandmate later recalled the moment she stood frozen, letter trembling in her hands, when David walked in. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. He simply turned around and walked out. The show was canceled, and by morning, local headlines told the whole story. Though he continued to perform, something had changed. For many longtime fans, the magic felt cracked. Offstage, addiction began to consume him, slowly eroding the legend from within. When David Ruffin died at just 50 from a drug overdose, people said he had everything: the voice, the fame, the spotlight, yet lost the one thing no encore could restore: trust. Songs may echo forever through time, but once trust is broken, no melody can truly bring it back. Talent is a gift. Don't let it become the reason you wound the people who loved you first. Wilson Pickett. Wilson Pickett, the man who lit the fire and then walked straight through the smoke. A soul rock legend, a force of nature on stage, he electrified crowds with hits like In the Midnight Hour and Mustang Sally. Fans called him the Fire Machine, not just for that raw, blazing voice, but for the trail of scorched relationships left behind wherever he went. One night at a backstage press conference in Los Angeles, the chaos finally caught up with him. An ex-girlfriend, once a studio manager who had stood by his side, pushed through the crowd holding a handwritten love letter and a photo of Pickett kissing a young woman by a hotel pool. Right there, under the flashing cameras, she raised the picture and said, "I thought he loved me. Now I just want the whole world to see how foolish I was." In an instant, the press conference turned into a public reckoning. Pickett laughed it off, gave a careless shrug and walked away, but the moment didn't disappear. It aired across local television, igniting outrage. Show promoters faced mounting pressure, women's groups organized boycotts, and while he kept touring and recording, the roar of the crowd slowly faded into something quieter, colder. Over time he grew more distant, more isolated. By the end of his life, despite a career etched into music history, only a handful of old industry friends remained by his side. You can be the fire that sets the whole auditorium ablaze, but if you burn the hearts closest to you, there may be no one left when the lights finally go out. Fame fades fast. The way you treat the people who love you is the legacy that stays. Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield. The complicated soul behind the sound of a generation. Celebrated as a prophet of soul music, he gave the world powerful anthems like People Get Ready and Move On Up, songs filled with hope, courage, and truth. Yet behind the spotlight was a man living a double life. For more than a decade, he maintained secret, parallel relationships with two women in different states, hidden beneath the chaos of relentless touring. Everything changed after a tragic stage accident in 1990 left him paralyzed. While he lay in recovery, both women arrived at the same hospital on the very same day, and the truth could no longer be concealed. The media exposed the story, and a close friend later recalled Curtis breaking down in tears as he read the headlines from his hospital bed, unable to stand, unable to escape, with nowhere left to hide. Love was never meant to be a game revealed only when life falls apart. He wrote songs that inspired a generation to believe in hope, yet left those closest to him wrestling with heartbreak and doubt. In the end, some truths, no matter how late, demand to be faced. Samuel David Moore. The lover no one quite knew how to believe. Sam Moore, the electrifying voice behind the legendary duo Sam and Dave, was the raw soul that made Soul Man explode across stages and into history. His voice could shake a room, lift a crowd, and turn a simple performance into pure fire. But behind the spotlight, whispers followed him like a shadow. In industry circles, stories swirled, rumors of complicated romances with young female singers and promises that faded as quickly as the applause. One particularly painful controversy emerged when a rising singer publicly claimed she had been caught in a 2-year emotional whirlwind with him, only to feel abandoned when her life took an unexpected turn. No solid proof ever surfaced, yet the headlines were relentless, and the damage was done. His personal life unraveled quietly. His wife walked away, leaving behind only a letter that read, "I thought you sang for me." The words echoed louder than any encore. Sam eventually found his way back to the stage, but the echoes of broken trust lingered in the background of every note. A song can blaze like wildfire for a moment, but a wounded heart burns slowly, silently, until one day, it fades into darkness. Bobby Womack. A voice soaked in soul, and a life forever shadowed by controversy. Known for timeless songs like Across 110th Street, Bobby had the kind of raw, magnetic talent that could stop listeners in their tracks. But beyond the music, his name became tied to one of the most shocking scandals in soul history, a relationship with Barbara Cook, the widow of his close friend and musical brother, Sam Cooke. Not long after Sam's funeral in 1964, Bobby moved into Barbara's home, and when their romance went public, outrage erupted. The black community turned its back on him. Friends distanced themselves. Sam's own mother branded him one of the greatest betrayers the genre had ever seen. The turmoil only deepened when Sam and Barbara's daughter discovered Bobby was secretly involved with her mother's stepsister, a confrontation so explosive she reportedly held him at gunpoint. From that moment on, everything unraveled. Family ties were shattered. Trust was destroyed. And although Bobby continued to make music, the shadow of scandal followed him everywhere, and his career never truly regained its former shine. Sometimes in life, a single decision can fracture everything you've built. Honor the trust people place in you, because some wounds run deeper than any song, no matter how beautifully sung. Barry White. The velvet voice that once whispered romance into two worlds at once. A legend of sexy soul, Barry's deep, hypnotic tone made millions swoon and defined an era of love songs. But behind the smooth melodies lived a complicated reality tangled with overlapping relationships. While publicly vowing lifelong devotion to his wife, a shocking truth emerged: Barry had fathered a child with a much younger fan. The secret unraveled when the woman mailed a photo of her son along with DNA results to his record label. An assistant later recalled the heartbreaking moment. Barry's wife received the envelope, quietly walked out of their villa, and never came back. Barry eventually acknowledged the child, but the damage to his public image was irreversible. Because real love isn't built on sweet whispers, it's proven through quiet responsibility and honest actions. Donnie Hathaway. Donnie Hathaway. Sometimes a broken heart isn't caused by illness alone. He was a musical genius with a soul as delicate as the melodies he created. Even while battling schizophrenia, he poured his pain into timeless love songs that still echo today. But behind the music, his personal life unraveled. During a deep psychological crisis, he became entangled in a chaotic affair with a female colleague in the studio. The truth came crashing down when his wife discovered a hotel bill and a notebook filled with his intimate confessions. A close friend later recalled, Donnie didn't argue or make excuses, he just lowered his head, cried, and whispered, "I lost my way." The relationship collapsed, his family was left shattered, and his passing carried heavy regret. His story is a haunting reminder that even the most gifted and sensitive souls can hurt the people they love when they're too lost to confront their own darkness. Howard Tate, a voice once powerful enough to shake souls, slowly swallowed by addiction and betrayal. He rose with raw talent and deep emotion, but behind the music, his life unraveled fast. Drugs took hold, and secrets destroyed his marriage. One day, his wife walked into the recording studio unannounced and found the truth waiting for her: 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom, a pair of high heels hidden under the bed. That moment ended everything. She left with their children, and Howard spiraled deeper into addiction, losing his career, his family, and eventually himself. For nearly 20 years, he vanished from the music world, returning only later, older, broken, and full of regret. Because no matter how beautiful a voice may be, it can't silence a wounded heart forever. Howard didn't lose what mattered most because of his art, but because he never learned how to protect his own soul. Kelly. Once crowned the king of modern R&B, a voice that defined an era, yet a legacy forever shadowed by scandal. Accusations of infidelity, abuse, and exploitation didn't just crack his image, they shattered it. One of the most shocking controversies involved an alleged affair with a bandmate's wife, sparking a painful breakup and opening the floodgates to more claims from other women. As the headlines grew louder, his family fractured, his career stalled, and the same public that once celebrated him turned away. The glamorous superstar persona faded, replaced by courtrooms, controversy, and a reputation he could no longer outrun. Talent can lift someone to the highest stage, but character is what keeps them there. And when the spotlight turns harsh, every lyric starts to sound like a confession. Despite the damage and heartbreak left behind, the music still lingers in people's memories, reminding us how complicated legacies can be. Thanks for staying with us through this controversial list. Imperfections are part of every story, but accountability shapes how those stories are remembered. If this made you think, drop a like, share the video, and tell us your perspective below. Your voice keeps the conversation alive.